All right, well, thank you guys so much for coming this evening. I am excited. Contrary to all of the promotional material, I'm not an expert on any of this. I am not qualified in any professional capacity. This is my hobby. So, like 2 years ago, probably about this time last year in 2022, so a year ago, a bunch of the tools started coming out. People started talking about GPT. People started talking about Midjourney and a lot of the image generation stuff, and I got super excited about it and was really interested in it. And so I wanted to just do a little primer because the last year has been fast with all of this stuff. And so I just didn't want anybody to be left behind or not know what's going on in the greater world of tech and stuff like that. So we're going to do 3 things tonight. We're going to talk about the technology, introduce tools and stuff that you guys may or may not have seen before, explore those tools, and we're going to discuss some of the risks that comes with that, but also some exciting aspects of the technology. So this is the capstones that we're going to be dealing with. We're going to be talking about LLMs, and I'll go over what that means. We're going to be talking about voice AI, editing, video generation, and image generation, AGI, and then again, we're going to discuss the risks, and we're going to talk about a little bit of techno-optimism, so some hope as far as that's concerned. Like I was saying before, this stuff is changing week to week. I've been adding slides like over the last couple weeks since I started making the presentation, just because there's new stuff that comes out. Alan sent me a video of the new Meta stuff with the Facebook glasses or whatever they're calling it. So that stuff, it keeps going and going. Private investment, so this is just to 2021. You can see how much it leaped. And the 2022 and 23 stats, I couldn't find a new chart for that yet, but I'm sure it is at least double that by now. I had another note. I have a couple of notes just because I don't want to forget certain things for these. Yep. Cool. These are some statistics that I found. There's a bunch of new blogs and stuff that go over all of this stuff every week because it's, like I said, it's so fastly changing. One of the coolest things I saw in here was 48% of businesses use some form of AI to utilize big data. That's only going to go up. All of the coolest shows that you watch on Netflix are because of these algorithms. $1 billion annually from automated personal recommendations. And there's going to be even more coming. So this is a timeline of some of the companies that you might recognize. You can see Google's logo. You can see Alexa there at the very bottom. The purple swirl is what we're going to be talking about mostly tonight with ChatGPT. This is OpenAI's current programs. And then also, Alan thought the Hugging Face name was really funny, so it's a little smiley face. That's a lot of the open source stuff is on Hugging Face. So that's really interesting. So I told you, I promised I would define these terms. Large language models, or LLMs, are advanced AI models that are trained on massive amounts of text data. So if you have, I remember when the automated text next thing came out, so you type a word and it'll give you 3 of the most likely words that'll come after that. This is a juiced version of that. So they just keep developing that technology to the point where it is able to respond in complete coherent sentences and do a whole bunch of other stuff that we're going to talk about as well. But think of it that way. It's a very sophisticated predictive text program. So the paradigm shifting use cases is what we're going to talk about now. So about 4 weeks ago, I asked GPT 3.5 to list a bunch of use cases, and it gave me 40 examples, and I kind of carved it down to a little bit more digestible. So we're going to talk about that. Let's see. So these bots are not your average robots. We've all had conversations with Siri and Alexa in the past. but these are much more advanced. So Alexa currently and Siri right now, as well as all the other stuff that's on your phones, depending on what type of model you have, those are not implemented with large language model capabilities as of yet. When they do, you'll know. So here's the first category that we were talking about. So Google Translate already exists. A lot of this stuff is already really well and truly in the market. But GPT can also translate. I believe it's like 44 languages right now. It's able to translate full paragraphs, full presentations, in context, correct conjugation, all this kind of stuff. It is very impressive. It also acts as a interactive language tutor. So the green owl, I can never remember the name of the program. Duolingo, thank you. Yes, Duolingo is using a lot of this right now, but you can just do it with GPT for free. It's very powerful stuff. The next general category is text generation. So idea, so like your brainstorming and stuff, I did this with this presentation. You know, hey, I'm looking to do this. Help me come up with a lot of your use cases. So this, I already used AI for this specifically, which was fun. Writing assistants. So articles, blogs, reports, and papers. You have already read an article in the past 6 months that has been written by GPT exclusively, maybe even not edited, just generated, thrown on a blog. That is already in use. So it's very powerful insofar as you're not going to be able to tell. A lot of the tools are just that great. Programming is one of the coolest uses for this. I cannot code for anything. I'm very bad at it. It is too dense for me. But with GPT, you can type in a prompt or give it an image, like, hey, I'm trying to make a website. Here is a picture of what I want it to look like, and it will generate the code. You throw it on the website, and it just works. So hopefully, I'll have a couple of examples that will kind of get into that a little bit more. But Squarespace is going to have a lot of trouble getting business after this. We'll see what happens. Let's see. So I've got a lot of video presentations in here. None of the video clips are more than like a minute, but I have a lot of them because I want to show you as much of the different possibilities of this kind of stuff as possible. This one is Microsoft 365's Copilot. So this launched, I believe, in September. If you have Windows 11 installed and your computer has enough capability to use it. So mine, for example, doesn't. I can't even use Windows 11 right now, but this stuff is available currently. So it's a really dense little video, but if you noticed there, it generated an entire slideshow just from a single text prompt and giving it a file. So if I had Windows 11, I could have just done this entire presentation with that, but unfortunately I did not have that at the time. So Another couple of things that you saw in there that was really exciting is if you're late to a meeting and you have Copilot enabled, say, hey, catch me up on what I missed. And it will give you a summary of the points that were discussed before you arrived. You can use it to draft emails. So for example, draft an email with a proposal with this file in mind, politely declining the quote that we received or something along those lines. Several public apologies by companies as well as celebrities have been written by GPT in the last couple of months, so that's fun. But yeah, here is another, oh no, we're gonna go, yes, okay, so education. I remember me and Lauren talked about this a little bit. It was a lot of fun. So one of these things that is going to be directly affecting everyone's life, just like when the search engine came out. I remember playing on Ask Jeeves in high school and being completely blown away by that. So Bing Chat is currently available. It is completely free. And it is essentially what Ask Jeeves should have been. You can ask it a question, and instead of it giving you a list of links, it will give you a completely detailed paragraph or two about what you asked about. And if you need a clarification, it will give you a clarification. If you want it to write another 40 paragraphs on that subject, it will do so. And I have a bunch of examples of this. It is the coolest aspect of GPT. I'm going to say that like several times more, just in case you guys are worried. Teaching assistant and tutor. So using the same principle of like asking for clarification on things that you don't understand, GPT can be a direct tutor. So uploading a picture of a cell. I have a video of this a little bit later, but uploading a picture of a cell that has all of the different things listed, for example, the mitochondria, the nucleus, stuff like that. It will give you all these definitions. And then if you are, say, a 9th grader and you're still completely overwhelmed because you hate biology, you can say, hey, I'm not getting this. Help me out. Make this at a 4th grade reading level. Help me understand. And in the example given in this, GPT used a metaphor of a city to describe the different parts of the cell. All by itself, just generated this metaphor, said the nucleus is town hall, the mitochondria is the power plant, and so on and so forth. Very cool stuff. So a complete tutor, something that you had to pay for before, maybe you have to pay a lot less for an incredible interactive experience. We talked about summarizing documents, lectures, and other media. If you've got a 400-page report that you have to read and you have an hour left to read it because you're a procrastinator like I am, you can plug it into GPT, say, please summarize this in 3 paragraphs or less. It will do so. So that is also an incredible use case. So here is the Bing stuff that we were talking about. This is the new search engine. So Bing is the first one to utilize this because OpenAI is partnering with Microsoft. Google is working on this right now, furiously, I imagine. Their version is called Bard, I believe. That should be coming out in the next year or so. I've also heard Gemini is something that they're working on that is supposed to be a 5-fold increase in power from GPT-4, which is the currently available model.
We've been working on something we think is pretty special. We're going to reimagine the search engine, the web browser, and new chat experiences into something we think of as your Copilot for the web. At the center of this new Copilot experience is an all-new Bing search engine and Edge web browser. You're going to notice some subtle but important changes. First, we have an expanded search box capable of accepting up to 1,000 characters, because now Bing works with natural language. And you saw a little hint to chat. With one click, you are now into chat. Bing knows the context, and it just goes in and refires the queries. Bing can generate the content to help you get started. And with a simple request, just basically say, hey, translate it to Spanish. Bing knows to take that entire email and itinerary and convert that into Spanish. In fact, Bing can translate automatically in over 100 languages. We've just updated Edge with a new look and feel and new AI capabilities. As you can see here, it's sleeker, it's lighter. And you're going to notice now that we've integrated Bing in a really cool new way. All of these amazing new capabilities in what we think is a revolutionary new experience. World-class search, the ability to actually get answers to your questions, made easy with integrated chat, and the ability to generate content when you need it to spark your imagination. Brought to you not only when you're searching, but everywhere on the web, courtesy of the new Edge browser.
So we're going to play with this a little bit later. So start thinking of some things you want to ask it. I have it pulled up already. This is something you can use when you get home. Just play with it for hours like I have. It's just Bing, and you go to chat. It is free. Yeah, so when Google releases theirs as well, it'll be free. The same way Googling something or Binging something is already free. It's ad-based. So this is a clip about education. It's cool.
What is ChatGPT and AI technology going to mean for education? Kids like mine, does she ever even need to learn how to write?
It does mean we have to change how we test for knowledge. If a student can use ChatGPT to write an essay and get a B, we need to test for that knowledge in new ways. And it doesn't mean writing goes away, right? The calculator doesn't mean we stop teaching math. We got to test for a lot harder concepts in math as a result. So we have to do the same type of updating with artificial intelligence. Because when you think about it, at the end of the day, we go to school to be prepared for the future economy and the future world. That world's going to be underscored by these systems. So we need to make sure students are ready.
Do we have enough time to account to make these testing, these regulations if you need? Do we have enough time given the speed that this is rapidly evolving at? That's my worry.
Right, so truthfully, we actually do. So papers about these types of systems, they've been in the works for years. A lot of people in industry knew they were coming. It means we need to have a little bit more foresight. Maybe government needs to be a little bit more assertive as to what's in the pipeline, because we do have time to prepare. We just have to be leaning into it, looking for it, and not kind of just surprised by it.
So she has another clip that I couldn't find talking about, how do we get students to write papers? And she made the case that we have to assume that they were going to use it anyway because it's so easy to use and it's so incredibly powerful. And so you have to test in new ways. I love her point about the calculator. We didn't just stop teaching math because the calculator came around. We had to change what we tested for. I can go on and on about that, but this is the biology thing I was talking about. This is just a little clip of the cell wall and stuff.
Okay, this next example is from McKay Wrigley. And in this example, he takes a video. I'm not going to play the audio, but essentially what he does is he uploads an image of a diagram of a human cell. And from that, ChatGPT is able to list all of the different parts of the human cell and explain what each of the different parts are. And that's without any explanation within the image itself. I know it's a little tough to see, but that's what's in here. And he says this is the future of education, and I really could not agree more. Basically, kids are going to be able to upload any page of their textbook for an in-depth or even a 101 explanation of what is on that page.
So just typing, please explain to me this extraordinarily complex topic at a 5th grade reading level is already an extremely powerful tool. The kids constantly asking you questions. Why? Just direct them to GPT. It's a joke, but I understand. So another category that we're going to talk about for use cases with GPT, or LLMs in general, is the advisor role. So GPT-4 is the most recent version of GPT. We have financial advisors roles. So there was a Forbes article written hyperbolically saying that financial advisors may become obsolete. Obviously, I don't know about that. We'll see. The medical role. So GPT passed the US medical licensing exam with a 90% correct rate. I don't know if you guys have ever had a symptom and typed it into WebMD and it tells you you immediately have cancer all the time. But this is not like that. It is very powerful. There are specific LLMs that are trained more on medical data as well as up-to-date essays, and it can give you a much better and less terrifying medical diagnosis. The legal advisor. So GPT passed the bar exam with flying colors. It is able to give you a starting board saying, hey, look, what are my options with this particular situation that I have? You know, instead of going and getting a quote from a legal advisor who that might cost money, this will give you a little primer saying, do I even have any options, or help you out? And again, this is great for low-income areas of life where you're scared of going out, you're scared of getting charged a consultation fee. It's right there. Interview coach, or just any kind of life coach in general, talking back and forth with something, just to train yourself like you would in a mirror, but this one responds. So travel, so this is really exciting. I did this for our Grand Canyon trip that I recently took a couple weeks ago. Type into GPT, hey, I'm going to the Grand Canyon, here are the dates, here are the different things that I would like to see. Please create an itinerary, and it will give you 8 a.m., 6 p.m., go on and do all of that stuff. Yeah, it's fantastic. Cooking, this is so cool. So I've got a clip in here that talks about this. So you can take a picture of your fridge. GPT will understand all of the things that you have in your fridge just on site, and it will give you a recipe for something that you can create with the stuff you have available. It can also create diet plans, meal plans. I have a clip about that as well. Shopping, it's really interesting to do this. So if you have a picture of something, you're like, oh my goodness, what brand is that? What, does it come in this color? Just upload a picture, just ask GPT, and say, look, I'm looking for an outfit for this event with these color specifications. The more specific you are with it, the better the output is that it'll give you. We talked about life coach, and the personal assistant stuff is something I'm so excited about because I really, really, really hate bureaucracy. So like my driver's license, like renewing all that, paying all those bills. There are a couple of prototype personal assistant variants of GPT not on the market, but they're prototypes. It's incredible because you text this version of GPT and it will text you back, hey, this is what you have at 8 a.m. tomorrow. Don't forget about this. It's so-and-so's birthday, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's gonna change my life anyway, because, yeah. Well, you would have to put that stuff in there, yeah. You'd have to program it to a certain extent, give it access to your calendar and stuff like that. But it's just it's an interactive way of doing that kind of thing. So here's a little summary.
GPT-4 is here, and here are 2 ways that it's so much crazier than the last version that we all freaked out about. This is a list of simulated exams that they gave this new AI. Look at these results. It can now ace the bar exam. The previous version couldn't do this. The biggest difference now, though, is that it can also analyze images. For example, show it a picture of your fridge and ask it to make some meals out of the items inside, just from the picture. This isn't hypothetical, this is already being used. Visually impaired people are using it to help navigate. Duolingo is using it to help people learn languages. These tools are going to be more and more a part of our lives in amazing ways, and also in ways that we still have to figure out. There are big limitations here still. If you're as blown away as I am by this, follow for more. We're going to be talking about it.
Hey guys, it's How to Text Simplified. Today we'll show you how you can make an easy meal plan using ChatGPT. Now, for this to work, you need to go really in depth with the question. For me, I wrote, can you write me a 7-day meal plan for a meal consuming 2000 calories without any gluten? So you need to get it as specific as you need. So here I ask a question and ChatGPT makes me the meal plan I need from day 1 to day 7. Now, if you want this even more in depth using all the ingredients, you can ask a question on this answer. So for example, can you make day 1 more specific with all the grams needed for the dinner or for the lunch? So you can make it even more in depth for the person you're using it for or for yourself. Now this is really nice and easy for trainers or for yourself. If this tutorial has helped you by any chance, please leave a like and subscribe for more easy tech videos.
So basically, any kind of menial administrative task that you would have an unpaid intern do previously, GPT will do for you instead. So entertainment, this is obviously my favorite. This is so cool. So storyteller, I had a conversation with my sister-in-law while I was over visiting my nephew, and my nephew's name is Jackson, and he loves monster trucks and dinosaurs, and that is not a very common mixture for the child book market. And so I asked GPT to write him a little book, and it was really impressive, just talking about Jackson by name and how all of his little interests coincide. So like those books that you can have made with your kid's name in it, you can just do it this way now. So Dungeon Master, I don't have a lot of time to get into this. I can't explain Dungeons and Dragons. That is an entire separate presentation. But interactive story. So as a group, you can sit down together with GPT and begin interactive story. Have 3 or 4 people, your kids, and say, hey, look, we're going through this forest. Tell us what happens. GPT will give you a scenario. Your kids can say, I want to go swimming. I want to go down the river. I want the sunflowers to grow, all of this stuff. Dynamic adaptation in storytelling. It's like a choose-your-own-adventure that isn't written yet. Very cool. Music composition. So the lyric generation stuff is a lot of fun. My favorite thing to sing is Pippin's song from Lord of the Rings. I don't know if you know that one, but I always had trouble because I wanted to write additional stanzas to that one because it's only one stanza. And so I had GPT write 40, and I just picked the best. Yeah, but it is, you can tell it, I want it to have the same dark timbre, but have a slight hope to each end of the lyrics. It's fantastic, and obviously poetry as well. It's very good at rhyming because it's a thesaurus. So here is a little poem that someone asked it to write. So this is touching on a little something we're going to talk about later called... Yes, so that is what it was talking about before. It gave it the prompt, I want every word to start with T. GPT messed up and had some of the rhyming words that didn't start with T, and the user confronted it, and it redid it with every word starting with T. So that's something called a hallucination in this line of technology, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that in the risks section. But this was really neat. I thought this was fun.
Did you hear that ChatGPT can talk now? And you can talk to it. So you could say, like, tell me a bedtime story about a hedgehog named Larry.
Larry was a unique hedgehog, unlike any other.
And you can keep going, like maybe you want to know more about Larry's house.
Larry's house was a cozy burrow beneath a sunflower field.
Here's how this works. For your voice going in, OpenAI is using Whisper, their speech recognition system, to turn your voice into text. Then ChatGPT does its large language model thing to respond to that text prompt. And then for its voice back out to you, it's using a new text-to-speech model based on sample speech from professional voice actors. The idea of just chatting with our devices isn't anything new. I've been trying to talk to Alexa for years.
Sorry, I don't know that.
It's a work in progress. But now, with large language models getting so much better, combined with new text-to-speech, that chatty robot future could really be happening. It's all very huge if true. If you like optimistic stories about science and tech, follow for more.
So the last category we're going to talk about as far as LLMs is the most controversial one. I kind of put all of that stuff together so that we could talk about it with a preface of, this is not me endorsing and or not endorsing these particular use cases for GPT. These are just a little bit more controversial. So the last category is the category of counselor, and this is something that we're going to be dealing with a lot, especially with young people. So there are several models that have been released in the last 6 months for therapy, just as maybe a primer to see if you need professional help or something like that. We also have spiritual guidance and ethical dilemmas, which again, I am not endorsing this. This is just the list that GPT gave me. We also have virtual friend and elder care, which we're going to talk about a lot in the risk section. So this, like I was saying before, this is not Alexa or Siri. This thing, if you didn't know it was a machine, then you wouldn't be able to tell. So the danger there is very real. So there's a couple of different types of LLMs. Think of these as, they're all serials. These are just different brands, right? So ChatGPT is the one we've been talking about. Generative Pre-trained Transformer. I can never remember that, so I put it up there. That's what GPT stands for. It's very technical. I don't know all of the reasons for that, but 3.5 is what I used for this presentation, and 4 is something that is out on Bing. That's what we're going to be using in a bit. Bing Chat is the Microsoft LLM. Bard, like I said, is Google's version that they're working on, and Gemini is the upcoming version that we only have whispers of so far, apparently supposed to be a 5-fold improvement. Llama is the open source. A lot of them are based on Llama. I don't know what Llama stands for, I'm sorry. But those are some of the other lesser known brands, and a whole bunch of other ones. So I think I have another slide of that. Yeah, so these are a bunch of the tools that I was talking about. The 7,000 tools that have been released in 2023 alone, these are a couple of those. So, yeah, no, absolutely. I don't know what half of these are. I just thought this was a really cool slide to show. So, moving on from LLMs, some other stuff that's happening in the AI space is the voice stuff. You heard a little bit about that from that lady who did the YouTube video there. So, there is a technology that if you upload a 30-second clip of you talking, just 30 seconds, it will be able to replicate your voice to the point where your loved ones would not be able to tell. And I have a clip of that coming up. You can have your favorite characters or people sing full-length songs. I have a clip of that coming up. That's a lot of fun. And then also fully voice-acted video game characters and audiobook voiceover generation. This is actually partly, not wholly, what the writer's strike was about in the last 6 months. Talking about AI, talking about licensing your own image. A lot of this stuff is the reason that was a big impetus for this. This is the voice AI stuff I was talking about.
AI has gone way too far, way too fast. I recently posted a video showcasing 11 Labs' voice cloning, and I cloned my voice. But now we're gonna put it to the test. I'm gonna give you multiple voice clips. One of these is real. The rest are AI generated. See if you can guess which one. Let's take it away. I actually do like pineapple on pizza. It's seriously delicious. Subscribe to my YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube. I'm totally an artificial intelligence. Listen, my voice is real. It's not an AI. So when I was little, I used to skateboard a lot, but I eventually grew out of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Which one is real? Bet you can't guess. Make sure you're subscribed because I will eventually reveal the answer.
Can anybody guess which one was his real voice?
The one where he says it's, yeah, I thought.
I would say 6. Okay, so it's actually the 5th one, the one where he says, "This is my real voice." So. Uh-oh, have a little error here. All right, I guess we're not going to watch the plankton video, but I can pull one of those up after the presentation. There's hundreds, it's really fun. But having like SpongeBob characters sing different songs. The Dolly Parton one that I had, or the Arnold Schwarzenegger ones are really funny. So video editing, Adobe Generative Fill, and CGI and all that stuff is going to be hugely impacted by these. I have examples of these as well, and we're going to play with Midjourney, which is image generation, in a little bit. So this is called Adobe Firefly. This is also available now. Don't believe it's free. I think you have to have an Adobe license, but this is incredible. So I actually had jury duty this past Monday, and I saw the lady in front of me was doing Photoshop, and I asked her if she did Photoshop professionally, and she was like, yeah. It's like, have you heard about Adobe Firefly? She was like, no, and so we pulled it up, and she played with it a little bit, and it does so much of that stuff automatically. The blending, cutting certain things out, adding certain things, automatically. It brings that kind of technology into the hands of people who, would have had to train for years in order to do that kind of thing. And we'll obviously talk about this in the risks section as well. More image and video generation stuff. Midjourney is something that I've spent over 500 hours on, just for fun, because it is so wild. Stable Diffusion is the other version that I'm familiar with. Image to video is also on the horizon, which right now it's not great, but it will obviously improve just like how Midjourney has. And we're going to have a little bit of examples of that because it's hard to visualize putting in text and it generating an image. But here we go. Bass is really heavy on that song, huh? So these are not real people. These are not based on real images. These are fully generated by the AI. Obviously, we're going to talk about this in the risks section as well, because if social media hasn't already ruined everyone's self-image, this is not going to help. But it is really exciting for other reasons. So I'm trying not to scare everyone. I'm trying to get people excited about this stuff, but we're still going to talk about the dangers, right? So this is a little bit of a mixture of both Midjourney and the voice technology that we talked about, as well as some little bit of a video thing. Like this one is rough, like it's not very well done. You can tell that it's not an actual person, but it's the beginnings of text to video.
Hey, what's going on? My name is Rain, and I was created using version 5 of Midjourney, which came out today. My creator, JS Films, wanted to hear how I sound with Voice.ai and how I would look when being animated by DID. What do you think?
So, in fact, all of the art in this presentation was generated by Midjourney. I typed in what I wanted to find, and it put out those things. So the language thing, the image generation, and all of these people are not real, they're just generated. This landscape as well, in the corner there, very exciting stuff. We're gonna do some stuff like that after the presentation as well, so be thinking of some things that you want to see on the image. Some other industries that utilize this technology. I'm very excited in particular about the astronomy aspect of this. So combing through a lot of the junk data that our telescopes and satellites pick up to find patterns and stuff, things that would take years for people to do, AI is able to do this. Pharmacology as well is going to be a huge boon for additional drugs and pharmaceuticals. So protein folding, if you know anything about biology, this is like, I'm a biologist, so this was very exciting for me. It's just so very tedious to try and develop a drug from protein folding alone, but having a computer do it, they're able to expedite this process. And so we're gonna see a lot of new drugs that are created in order for stuff that we never would have imagined. Just the general admin stuff, so increasing efficiency at energy plants, logistics and analysis for supply chain management, fraud detection and risk management for finance, also stock analysis and customer service. So getting phone calls or calling different places and getting those outsourced phone calls, you're just going to be talking to robots here in a little bit, and you won't be able to tell that you're talking to robots. Again, we'll talk about that in the risks. So AGI is on the horizon. The reason that we have LLMs is because the goal was AGI. AGI is artificial general intelligence. It is a hypothetical agent that can learn to accomplish any intellectual task that human beings can. So I'm going to let the CEO of OpenAI talk about it a little bit, and then I'll talk about it a little bit more.
The term AGI is thrown around a lot. How would you define AGI, and how do you think you'll know?
I think there's a lot of valid definitions to this, but for me, AGI is basically the equivalent of a median human that you could hire as a coworker. And then they could say, do anything that you'd be happy with a remote coworker doing just behind a computer, which includes, learning how to go be a doctor, learning how to go be a very competent coder. There's a lot of stuff that a median human is capable of getting good at. And I think one of the skills of an AGI is not any particular milestone, but a meta skill of learning to figure things out, and that it can go decide to get good at whatever you need.
So the reason that I love this stuff is because I'm a huge sci-fi nerd. So Terminator and all that other stuff, we have half of our sci-fi library is dedicated to panicking about this very thing. So it is not so far away, and you may not believe me yet, but once you play with it a little bit and talk with it and understand a little bit more of the tools, you'll know that it is a reality. It is not going to be science fiction. This is something we're going to see. So more on that later. We're going to talk about the risks now. So I mentioned hallucinations earlier. This is something that 3.5 was very problematic with. It's obviously gotten better. These things are hopefully going to go away more and more. Just basic factual errors that it can have. So for example, I asked it the difference between an alpaca and a llama because I was curious. We were on a hayride with my nephews. And they had both there. And I was like, hey, is an alpaca and a llama the same species? Is it a subspecies? What's going on? It began the paragraph telling me they were separate species, and it ended the paragraph telling me they were the same species. So a little bit of a hallucination that goes on there. Sometimes it helps to clarify. We saw that in the poetry thing as well. Hey, this isn't quite right. Please reassess. It will fix it. And that'll get better. So automation and job loss. We talked a little bit about how your unpaid interns work is going to be a lot easier with GPT instead of having those jobs. My job in specific can be automated tomorrow. I work for the state though, so I'm not worried. They still don't have a really functioning website, so I'm good for at least another decade. However, my job is basically looking through data, combing through data, and fixing errors with a simple, does this make sense? No. I'll change it to what it makes sense, or call the fishermen to figure it out. This job is very easily automated with GPT. So. I thought of that, and we're gonna work on that a little bit more, depending on how good the user interface is for this. The problem with that is, currently these models are not local, so all of the information you send it is on the servers for that company. So I would have to send confidential data to their servers, which would get rid of confidentiality, and this is a problem that a lot of people are having with this. And so if we can find a way to make local copies of these programs to keep the data safe or safer, that will expedite the process. But I couldn't do it just yet until we had a way to make sure that data was confidential. So we talked about the education upset. There's going to have to be a lot of changes, especially since we know kids are going to be using this stuff regardless. Over-reliance. So I cannot do long division anymore. I was taught how to do long division. I can no longer do it. So this is something that's going to happen with these other tasks, right? If we use the technology for this, we'll lose those skills, and that's just going to be how it works. Deepfakes, so robocalls. I'm sure everyone gets them. I get them constantly. I just don't answer anymore. But instead of a robot that you can tell is a robot, it will be a person that you cannot tell is a robot. You will be able to ask them questions and they will answer. They will understand what you're saying. Once you talk to GPT, you'll know that that is the case. Algorithmic bias. So alignment is an entire another presentation. I didn't want to get too much into it, but alignment is super important. This is what keeps these tools ethical and moral and keeps them from becoming Skynet. So alignment is hugely important, making sure that these programs don't go against humanity's desires and also doesn't decide, what's best for us without our input. Market volatility, I talked about financial advisor capacity. People have already been using this stuff for stock analysis to predict the future with algorithmic equations. So that's going to be an interesting thing going forward as well. The human social interaction part is something that I am currently studying a little bit more, just because it's going to be such a huge problem for our young people. Virtual partners and less reliant on human interaction. This is something that Japan has been dealing with even before the AI epidemic with hikikomoris, shut-ins, hermits, people who don't interact with society. This will make this much worse because people will look at these things as if they were human. They will develop relationships and seek fulfillment from these people or from these things and rely less on human interaction. This is something that we as a church can know and understand and seek to help these people in a better way. So keeping that in mind, I've heard horror stories from people on podcasts, so again, take it with a grain of salt, but from teachers who are talking to or overhearing their students talk about how their AI partner on their app is this, that, and the other thing, and they all have it. And that's the only thing they discuss with each other is how the best app. They don't, this, that, whatever. It's something that we need to be cognizant of. Yes, the movie Her. Exactly, the movie Her, yes. Sure, yeah. I mean, that's a great one for this.
I guess you could just ask ChatGPT.
You could absolutely ask it, yeah.
We do need it.
And then obviously Rogue AI, the Skynet thing. So AutoGPT is something that exists and has existed for about 7 months. This is taking GPT and giving it not only access to the internet, but access to money. So some people have taken this and said, go make me money. And it will put it into the stock market. It will, depending on what other apps or plugins it has access to, just do that. So this is something that we have to keep an eye on. It's wild. That is outside of my wheelhouse. When I say people have used this to make money, this is like GPT doing odd tasks for people, so like on Fiverr or something like that. There was also a study where it was able to outsource doing a CAPTCHA to someone on Fiverr. So because it couldn't pass the CAPTCHA because it's a robot, it hired someone on Fiverr to do the CAPTCHA for it. Yes. So that's a danger. So techno-optimism, I don't want to scare you. I'm excited about this technology, and I want you to be excited about it too. With new power comes new challenges, and we need to understand that tools are not evil. How we use them can be evil. So swords into plowshares, as it were. We can't jump to conclusions with this stuff, and we can't, as a church, unilaterally condemn it, because it is a powerful tool that we can also use. Adjusting to unrecognizable futures, because there is no instruction manual. There really is, we have to learn as we go, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this presentation, is because if we don't know what's going on, we can't adapt, but we can adapt if we learn. So I asked GPT, is there a verse in the Bible about making swords into plowshares? This is another really great use case that it didn't mention itself, but I use for it. It has been trained on the Bible, on multiple versions of the Bible. It has also been trained on a lot of commentaries for the Bible. So this bottom paragraph is from commentaries that I checked out. So I asked it this question, and it said, yes, there is. It's in the book of Isaiah. It gave me the verse and chapter. It gave me the whole thing, and then a little bit of commentary from it as well, which I thought was really neat. I use the app Blue Letter Bible a lot. I'm not sure if it has access to the Greek or if it would be able to analyze different words in the Greek. I haven't tried that. That's something we could maybe do. But it's obviously something that is very cool. Instead of me messaging my friend who has a PhD in this, I could just ask GPT.